So, trying to figure out Vietnam's immigration rules, man, it can feel incredibly complex, right? You hear these terms thrown around like visa validity and permitted stay, and they sound pretty much the same. But legally, they are worlds apart. Get it wrong, and you could be in some serious trouble. So, today, we're going to cut through all that noise using the official government laws like Law Number 47 to give you the real story on how to legally live and stay in Vietnam.
And believe me, that is not an exaggeration. A simple mix-up can lead to some hefty fines, a forced trip out of the country, or even getting barred from coming back in. The real key here is knowing exactly what these terms mean before you even get on the plane. So, let's get into it and learn the language of Vietnamese residency.
We're going to tackle three main ideas. First up, the big one, the critical difference between your visa's validity and your permitted stay. This is hands down the #1 reason people accidentally overstay. Then we'll dive into the temporary residence card, or TRC, which is a whole different way to live here long term.
All right, let's dive into the biggest hurdle right off the bat. Getting this one distinction right is absolutely crucial. Seriously, it's the difference between having a fantastic, smooth stay and having a very stressful chat with immigration officials. Okay, so think of visa validity as your entry ticket's good between dates. It's literally just the window of opportunity, the start date and the end date printed right on your visa, during which you are allowed to travel to Vietnam. But, and this is the important part, it is not how long you're allowed to stay. Okay, now this is the one you really, really need to pay attention to. Your permitted stay is the actual countdown clock. The clock starts ticking the second that immigration officer puts that entry stamp in your passport. That stamp, and only that stamp, tells you the real legal date you have to leave by. And this right here, this is the classic trap that so many people fall into. Let's say you've got a 90-day tourist visa that's valid from January 1st to April 1st. Great. But you decide to fly in on February 1st. You do not get 90 days from February 1st. Nope. Your stay is cut short by the visa's final expiration date, which is April 1st. So in reality, you only get 60 days. Just remember, your permitted stay can never, ever go past your visa's validity date. And what happens if you get this wrong? Well, according to the official decrees, fines kick in starting at 500,000 Vietnamese dong. And that's even if you overstay by just a little bit. The longer you overstay, the worse it gets, with penalties that can lead to being forced to leave and even getting blacklisted from coming back. Okay, so if visas are this tricky, what's the deal for people who want to stay longer? Well, that brings us to the temporary residence card, or TRC. And listen, this isn't just some kind of extra long visa. It's a whole different ballgame, a totally different legal status. So here's the absolute bottom line. A visa is a travel document. Its main job is to get you into the country. A TRC, on the other hand, is a residency document. It's designed for actually living here in Vietnam, and for as long as it's valid, it completely replaces the need for a visa. But you can't just get a TRC for the asking. The law is very clear. You need a sponsor. This could be the company you work for, your Vietnamese husband or wife, or a major investment you've made. And here's a pro tip, a really important logistical point. Your passport has to be valid for at least 13 months when you apply, because the card's validity is directly linked to your passport's expiration. All right, let's really put these head to head and see the actual difference in how long you can legally live in Vietnam with each one. This is where you'll see just how much of a game changer the TRC can be. And wow, this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? This is where you see the TRC's huge advantage. Now, for workers, it's pretty much the same, 2 years for both. But look at investors and family members. The difference is massive. A major investor can get a TRC for a full 10 years. That's incredible stability. Someone here on a family basis can get up to 5 years. And notice tourists, not eligible for a TRC at all. You know, staying legal isn't just about getting your first visa or card. It's about the long game. What happens when your time is up? And let me tell you, the process for extending a visa versus renewing a TRC, they are completely different, and you need to know this for any long-term planning. Okay, so if you take one thing away from this section, let it be this. A visa extension is basically a temporary fix. It's a Band-Aid. You can't just keep doing it over and over forever. A TRC renewal, on the other hand, can potentially go on indefinitely, as long as you still meet all the original requirements. So for visa extension, you generally have to apply about a month before it runs out, and for anything other than a tourist visa, you'll need your sponsor's help. But the law is super clear on this. It's not a permanent solution. Eventually, you'll have to either leave the country or switch to a more stable status, like a TRC. And here's where the TRC really proves its worth for anyone planning to stay long term. The renewal process is actually pretty straightforward, usually takes about 5 to 10 business days. And as long as your situation is the same, you still have the same job, you're still married, your investment is still active, you can just keep renewing it. That gives you a level of stability that a visa just can't touch.
Whew, okay, that was a lot of info, I know. So let's boil it all down to the must-know points and talk about a very, very important recent update that you need to be aware of.
So if you walk away with just 3 things, make it these. 1. Visa validity is just your travel window. 2. Your permitted stay is the real deal, the time dictated by that stamp in your passport. And 3. A TRC is not a visa. It's a proper long-term residency card for people who qualify.
And listen up, because this is a really important, fairly recent update you need to know about. Based on current practices, the Immigration Department is getting stricter. It is now much, much harder to get a TRC if you first entered Vietnam on something like a business or tourist visa. The cleanest, most direct path now is to enter on the correct visa from the get-go, like an LD2 work visa or a TT family visa, and then apply for the matching TRC. Look, immigration rules aren't set in stone. They can change, and they do. Everything we've talked about today is based on the laws as they stand right now. But for the most up-to-the-minute information, you've got to go straight to the source. These are the official websites run by the Vietnam Immigration Department. Seriously, bookmark these sites. So now you know the real rules of the game. You're armed with the right information to navigate your stay in Vietnam. The big question for you is, which path makes sense for your situation? Are you just visiting for a bit, focused on that entry stamp? Or are you in it for the long haul, aiming for the stability of a TRC? I hope this explainer has helped you figure out your next steps.